Hey everybody, this is Angie, also known as The Light. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to try to get out 2 or 3 videos because I have been lacking on my channel, and I know a lot of you are depending on me and you need more content, you need help, you just need my light, and I'm going to try to do better, but I have so much going on in my life that I choose not to talk about on my channel. So to those of you who are new, welcome to my channel. Please stop what you're doing and like my video. Please subscribe to my channel. You will not regret it. If you'd like to make a donation to me, you can do so. I will have my information, my PayPal information, my Cash App information will always be either in my description bar below the video, or it will be in the comment section. I always post the information in the comment section if you'd like to make a donation. When you make a donation to me, I email you and I ask you, do you have a topic that you would like me to do a video on, or a particular situation that you're going through, and then I do a video response. You get your own video, and of course, the more you donate, the longer your video will be, okay? But no donation is too small or too large. All right, so hopefully you can hear me well. And I'm gonna try to get out a couple of videos out the way, because I know I've been lacking. Okay, so I hope everyone is doing well. I do miss you guys. It's just that pray for me. I'm having some health issues. I'm having legal issues, but thank God, I'm still blessed. Work is fine, money is fine, thank God. But legal and health, I'm going through some things, so keep me in prayer. Okay. Anyway, I know you're probably like, health, she looks great. That's when you're blessed. When you're going through something, you don't look like what you're going through. Okay, so it's very late. It's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning here in New York. So bear with me. My voice is probably a little low. I did have a drink, so bear with me in this video. I'm going to try to get this out of the way, because I know I have not talked about this, and it is a very touchy subject. So just bear with me. So I know a lot of you probably have experienced this or are curious about this topic, or maybe you are going through this and you want to know, how did someone else go through it? And we all talk about how to cope or deal, how do we live with the narc, and how do we try to get along, or just different tips to talk about um dealing with the narcissist while they are alive, or when they are in good health. So I'm sure some of you have, watched narcissists die, and some of you haven't. Some of you probably can't wait until your narcissist dies. I'm laughing, but it's not funny at all. But so I'm gonna say one of the hardest situations I ever had to do was to take care of a narcissist that that narcissistically abused me my entire life. That was one of the hardest tasks, one of the greatest tests in my life, um, you know, that I had to deal with. I buried my mother when I was 23. My mother had cancer for 8 years. She fought. She was going in remission, and then, then she would just fall again. Her health would crash again. And I'll tell you the truth. I took care of my mom on and off throughout the whole 8 years of her battle with cancer. And I'm telling you, I would do that again. But I will come back in another life and I will do that again. Because when you love somebody, it is so easy to take care of someone who you love. Especially someone who took care of you when you were sick, when you were hungry, when you needed them. They were there for you. It's so much easier to take care of somebody when you love them. But when one of the hardest things for me that I had to do was take care of my narcissistic grandmother who treated me unfairly, who, was abusive to me my entire life. Okay, and to take care, I loved my grandmother. I loved that narcissist, but I did not like that narcissist because of everything that she had put me through, everything that she had did to me. I'm probably not gonna, one video is not gonna cover all the multiple things that this narcissistic grandparent did to me. And I chose to talk about this because somebody in my comment section months ago, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, asked me to cover, on narcissistic grandparents. And I feel like I've spoke about my narcissistic grandmother multiple times in my videos. But I was like, you know what, let me get this out there. So this is like a 2-for-1, talking about the narcissistic grandparent and talking about watching the narcissist die. Okay, so you would think, or I would think, I didn't find out my narcissistic grandmother was a narcissist until after she died. I was studying narcissism a couple of months before she died, but I didn't put one and two together all the way. You know how like your brain can't really comprehend all of that. When you started studying narcissism, you actually are kind of in shock, like, oh my gosh, all this time I've been dealing with somebody who has a mental illness. I've been dealing with somebody who's demonically possessed. Are you kidding me? Like, you kind of wish that they were just a bad person and they need to apologize to you, and that's all. You kind of in shock. Or for me, this is what I went through. I was in shock when I realized, yeah, this was a narcissist. This was somebody who battled with a spiritual possession. This is someone who had a mental illness. And for those of you who have never visited my channel, I don't consider narcissism to just be mental illness. I consider narcissism as a spiritual disorder, somebody who has multiple dark spirits on them. So if you do not agree with that, just click my video out. I've seen the weirdest comments in my comment section, like, you don't know what you're talking about. I am not a psychologist. I don't have any degrees. I am just a woman who has been surrounded and been swimming in narcissism since she was a child, okay? Because I was raised by narcissists and I attracted narcissistic friends. I had narcissists in both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side. I was raised by a narcissist. My mother married a narcissist who raised me. And this is the reason why I created my channel, alright? But anyway, going back to my narcissistic grandmother, which is my father's mother, I'm going to go from childhood, and for as long as I can remember, she never treated me fairly. She never treated me with kindness, with love. Like, everybody wants to go to their grandma's house on the weekends or for the summers. Some of you have probably grandmothers who baked cookies and took you shopping and snuck little peppermints in your bag, or, different things like that. That was never my experience. Even the vibration, since a child, I guess because I grew up in an abusive home, I developed empathic abilities, or how can I say, clairvoyant abilities, to where even as a child I always felt energy first. Like, no adult had to say anything to me. I can feel just the uneasiness. I can feel negative and positive energy. And I'm sure a lot of children can too. You don't have to be an empath. You don't have to be special. I saw someone comment that in the comment section too, how everyone's not special. Being an empath, I don't necessarily think it's a special ability. Some of us just have certain spiritual gifts. I believe that everyone has a gift. But narcissists love empaths, okay, because they're looking for someone who is going to put their feelings to the side and cater to them. Okay, so that's why they talk about the empath and the narcissistic dynamic, and that's why it's such a perfect match, because empaths always are feeling for other people and not just themselves. Okay, so I do not think I'm special because I'm an empath, or I have, some clairvoyant abilities. I don't, think that. But anyway, so I remember as a child how I felt around her. Like I used to cry like, please, Daddy, do not leave me at grandma's house. Please don't leave me at grandma's house. I had a very rocky relationship with my father. I don't think my dad knew how to be a father. I'm not making excuses for him, but I don't think that he was given attention and love. He did not know how to be. He was raised by a narcissistic mom. He didn't know his dad, so the only blood relative that he knew was my narcissistic grandmother. And this happens a lot to people who were raised by narcissists. They lack maturity, they lack emotional maturity, and that was my father. When I was with him, he was really nice to me. He never, did anything that was, I don't know how to, I'm not going to say, I don't know how to describe it, but he never did anything to have me question like he was trying to harm me, you know. But what he would do is he would pick me up when he had visitation on the weekends, because my mom had full custody of me, but he would be able to have me every other weekend. And when he did have me on the weekend, he didn't spend that much time with me. He would either drop me to my grandmother's house, my aunt's house, or one of his multiple girlfriends, okay? But most of the time he would drop me to my grandmother's house, or we would spend time, in the house together. And then when it got late, he'll put me to bed. He'll leave and go party and drink and do his drugs or whatever with his friends. And he'll come back maybe in the morning after drinking and partying or whatever, and make me breakfast and spend time with me. So that was majority of how my childhood was on the weekends. And it would be in my grandmother's home and stuff like that. And my dad, he would live between my grandmother's house and like his girlfriend's house, one of his girlfriends or something like that. Yeah, very unstable type of lifestyle. But yes, my dad was a correction officer. He wasn't like a bum financially, but then again, having the narcissistic parent, they don't give you skills to live on your own, to be, self-sufficient. They don't want you to be self-sufficient. They don't really want you to be, successful, because they're not successful. They don't want their children to go on and venture out and become better than them. So yes, you will see narcissistic parents harboring their grown ass kids, 40, 50, 60 years old, living with them, okay? And my dad was in his late 30s and 40s living in his mama's house. Why are you living in your mama's house and you're a correction officer? You have money. You have a car wash also on the side. Like, my dad owned a car wash. Like, why would you be living in your mama's house? Like, this is the type of things that narcissistic parents allow, and they want to happen, okay? They allow these things, these unhealthy, parental relationships with their children, okay? But anyway, that was majority of my childhood. So through my childhood, keep in mind, my dad was a scapegoat, my aunt was the golden child, and I was a scapegoat child because my dad was the scapegoat. The scapegoat, for those of you who do not know, the scapegoat is usually the child, or the lover, the relative, or whatever the narcissist chooses. Usually they are the stronger individual, the one who's going to fight back, the one who has a little bit more fight in them than the golden child, or a lot more fight in them, okay? And I saw that growing up. Like, I would see my dad argue with my grandmother, cursing her out, calling her bitches, mother effers, all kind of stuff. And I didn't understand that. When you're young, you're like, why would my dad be calling my grandmother a bitch? But then I understood it, because that's how she treated me. She treated me like a bitch. Okay. So, I would just literally feel uncomfortable. I remember, like, being a little girl when it's bath time, I will always feel uncomfortable, like, of her watching me get undressed and stuff like that. And I never felt like love. Like, when she would hug me, it didn't feel right. When she would just touch me any kind of way, it did not feel right. And that's because the narcissists have, like, these negative intentions, and their energy is so defiled that you don't feel comfortable around these narcissists at all. Okay. And energetically, even as a child, I can feel that she really didn't care for me, that she really didn't love me. Did she play with me? No, she didn't play with me when I was a little girl. I had such a big imagination when I was a little girl, so I would just be like in the living room and she'll be watching television. She wouldn't read me books or play with me or really talk to me or anything like that. It'll just be like me just sitting there, her watching me. When bedtime came, she gave me a bath, she put me to bed, and that was it. There was really no growth and interaction or things like that. As I got older, the relationship was mostly just I would visit her, she would give me money, and I would leave, and that was it. We really didn't have much in common. The conversations were always dry. She would either be gossiping about somebody from her church, from the neighborhood, in the family. And, through the years, she kept me separated from the family. And I never understood that. Like, I'm the youngest, out of all my, cousins and things like that. And I never understood it. When you're young, you look up to your older cousins, you want to be like them and stuff. I always admired my cousins, and I just got separated. The narc separates you when you're the scapegoat, when you're the black sheep of the family. The narcissist will separate you, and that's what she did to me. She separated me. And as I got older, me and my cousins started to talk, and they were like, I don't understand, like, why you're so cool, you're such a nice woman. I don't understand how come we weren't close. And the narcissist has a way of separating the family, and the scapegoat from the golden child from the scapegoat. They have a way of separating because they never want there to be certain closeness. They don't want, see, one of the main aspects of narcissists, also known as the Jezebel spirit, is to separate, to divide, to kill, to cause chaos, okay, to cause death. They don't want people getting along and bonding and having healthy friendships and relationships. So they create these spaces between the families and lovers and marriages and everything like that. They, you know, it's just complete evilness and darkness when it comes to the narcissist. And so I always felt like the how can I always felt unwanted, unloved. And this also plays, when you're being raised this way. So I'm being raised by a narcissistic stepfather, and then when I was with my biological father, I was being raised and left with a narc. So I'm getting hit both ways, hit at home, not physically hit, but hit with narcissism and emotional abuse. And this is the reason why when you get older, you are energetically attracted to narcissists, okay? You become sick too, okay? You're sick too because you're literally attracted to darkness. You're literally attracted to abusive people. You're literally attracted to negative people. And not because you're a bad person, but because that's all you saw. Bad feels good. You think that somebody rejecting you is love, okay? Because that's what you grew up around. So then, long story short, my entire life, I did not feel that connection. As I got older, keep in mind, the scapegoats are usually the stronger ones, and the narcissist pinpoints that from the day you come out the womb. Okay, why? Because narcs are demonically filled, and these spirits can pick up on certain spirits. They can pick up on who is stronger spiritually and who is weaker spiritually. So if you are the golden child, please don't think that you're less than a person. No, it's not that. You're just weaker, okay? And you can build your strength up, okay, when if you want to. Um so I remember being, little, and eventually she started talking badly about my parents to me, or on the phone gossiping. I remember her talking about me to people with me sitting in the room. Like, what does that do for a child's self-esteem? Okay, so the big thing was she would talk bad about my mother. She hated my mom. And I remember her saying, "Your mother's a bitch." And I was about maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I was just like, "No, you're a bitch." And my father was like, "Whoa, all right, you have to still respect your grandmother. Let's go." And he like took me home, or whatever the case is. But I remember my mom told me years after, like, "Oh, I remember your dad told me about that, and he actually was really proud of you." And I was just like, "What? He was proud of me that I called my grandmother a bitch?" But regardless of being the stronger, we still are weak because we've been abused. And when you are narcissistically abused, you lack self-esteem, you lack self-love. Okay, so yes, you can be an empath and still not love yourself. You can, be a kind person and still not love yourself, because you're all your life you're busy giving your love to everyone else. You have been busy self-sacrificing and putting everyone else first. That's not life. That's not living. That's not self-love. Self-love is self-care. Self-love is knowing I need to come first. If I don't love myself first, if I don't put myself first and take care of me, I can't be a good mother. I can't be a good father. I can't be a good lover, brother, sister, whatever it is. You have to be able to put yourself first. And that way you'll be good for other people. Okay? If you're not good for yourself, how are you going to be good for other people? So growing up with this narcissistic grandmother, I never felt wanted. I never felt loved by her. I never felt accepted. I never felt good enough. And she would use me and blame me. I remember one of my cousins like left the family. Like, she could not take it anymore. She couldn't take that narcissistic behavior, and she literally cut off the family. And one day I asked, I said, "Well, what happened to," my cousin name was Rashida. I said, "What happened to cousin Rashida?" And she said, "Oh," my grandmother said to me, "Oh, she left the family because of something you said." And I was just like, "What?" So can you imagine what that did to me? I was like 9 years old or something like that when she told me. So apparently my narcissistic grandmother said my older cousin left the family because of me. And this is the type of abuse that these narcissists do. Okay, and when you're being groomed from when you're a child. Okay, and this sticks in your subconscious until you're an adult, and then you carry on this behavior in self-hate in your friendships and in your relationships, and even at work or whatever, school, wherever you are, you carry this residue with you your entire life until you face it and heal it. Okay, so my whole life I was a scapegoat. Whenever something bad happened in the family, it was Angie's fault. Okay, and that sat with me for a long time. So I never felt worthy. I never felt good enough. I never felt I was impressing the family, making the family happy, or anything like that. So through the years, my grandfather died, my father died, my aunt died, a lot of people died in my father's family. You know, my dad died when I was 21. When my dad was 21, you know, that's another thing happened where I wasn't given the life insurance money. My dad had a car which was mine. I think I might have talked about this before in one of my videos, and my grandmother took the old lease, from my dad's old deed or old lease. The old lease, I think it is. And I had the new lease, and she sold my car and never gave me the money for it. And, there's a lot of fraudulent things, just really vicious, disgusting, conniving things this woman did to me. And when I lived with her for 7 years, okay? I lived with her for 7 years, so I dealt with narcissistic abuse for 7 years. And how did I get through it? I can just say it was nothing but my creator. It was God who did get me through living with narcissism, living with a narcissist. But through time, I didn't know what narcissism was, but I knew that there was something wrong with her. And living with her, and how I got through it is I channeled it out. I basically had to mentally block it out. I had to block it out, and I kept busy. I stayed out the house a lot. I went away a lot. I worked a lot. There was some days where I would walk by the house, I would still see the light on in the house, and I would keep walking, circling the block until I saw that light go off, because that meant that she went to sleep. And I avoided her as much as I could, and you can't always respond. You can't always respond to the narcissist. Sometimes you have to say, you know what, you're right. You're right. And I did that a lot. You know what, Grandma, you're right. Oh, really? I don't know. She would say all kind of things. You're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid, you ain't going to be shit like your mother, you ain't going to be shit like your daddy. And I'll say, okay, God bless. And I'll walk out the door. And I had to do that a lot over the years. And I said to myself, you know what? This isn't about me. This is about her and how she feels about herself. And that's what kept me going and living in this house for all these years. So back in 2015, 3 years ago, I noticed her sleeping pattern started to change, and I said something's up. And I pay attention to human behavior, okay? Especially when you're living with a narcissist, you're gonna pay attention, because you need to know, are they gonna wake up with in a bad mood, or are they, did they wake up with a bad mood, or are they okay? Are they gonna attack me? Like, you are always constantly looking for the narcissist's behavior. So I noticed that her behavior started to change, and she was the type of person, because narcissists cannot sit still. All right, she was one of those narcissists that always had to be out and about, whether it was at her senior citizen center, her shopping, her gambling. She went to a lot of casinos. Like, she was always on the move. And she was the type of person who will leave the house like 9 o'clock in the morning, stop back in the house around maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, go back out, don't come home till like maybe like 9 o'clock, just one of those type of narcs, always on the move constantly, because you know what, they can't sit in their house, they can't sit in their own peace, because their thoughts drive themselves crazy. Those demons in them torment them. They can't sit in silence and just be by themselves. It really does drive them crazy. Anyway, so I noticed that her behavior started to change, and eventually she started saying to me like, oh, I need you to come with me to the doctor. So my narcissistic My narcissistic. My dad's narcissistic ex-girlfriend, she happened to live across the street from us. So one day I contact her and I'm like, you know what, you need to drive me and grandma to the doctor. And she's really weak. So I'm like, and I'm noticing that she's losing weight and all this different things. And I'm like, what is going on? So I get to the doctor, and the doctor slips up and mentions her cancer, and I'm just like, what? What do you mean her cancer? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I was just like, wow, this is really crazy. So she ended up having, I think it was stomach cancer, and it was shocking. I'm not gonna lie, it was shocking to me. But in the back, I'm not gonna lie, in the back of my head, I was just like, oh my gosh, not again. I'm gonna be stuck taking care of her. And how I was keeping in mind, I lived with the narcissist, but the narcissist did not take care of me. Meaning, I lived in my narcissistic grandmother's home, but she did not pay my bills. She did not feed me. She did not clothe me. She did not give me money for a Metro card or anything like that. I was grown. Everyone lived three separate lives. My uncle lived his life. My grandma lived her life. I lived my life. Okay. I was appointed certain bills in the house, and I had my own personal bills as well. And everyone cooked for themselves. It was just like three people living in the house, but we weren't a family. Okay, so I knew that this was going to affect me, and it did. It affected my money. I ended up having to take care of my grandmother for 1 year until she died, and it was excruciating, because taking care of the narc that talked to you like a dog, that mistreated you, that stole from you, that did all these evil things to you, I had to gather all the strength in me to get this done, to do this. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, having to do that. There was many nights where I lost sleep because she would be calling me because she was in pain or she needed water. She had multiple surgeries, so she was in and out the hospital. I had to be there when she had these surgeries. I had to be there, for radiation. This was a very aggressive cancer, so this only lasted a year, and then she was gone. I had to handle financial business, because my grandmother owned properties and had assets and all these different things, and I had to do that. It wasn't the golden child that did it. It was me that had to do it all, because my uncle has mental illness, and the golden child lived in another state, and I was the only person that could do it. I had to do it. Now, there was many times where I said, you know what, I want to just leave this house. I want to just leave her, and then have to force the golden child to come back to New York and to help out. I had to do it, and I'm telling you, it was excruciating. There was many, many, many days I just wanted to leave. Now, did she become humble on her deathbed? Hell no. Hell no. If y'all ever had to take care of a narc when they were sick, when they're dying, and they apologize to you, I am so happy for you. I didn't get my apology. I didn't get any humbleness. A little bit, I'm going to say maybe a couple of days before she died, I remember the golden child and I were at the hospital with my grandmother, and my grandmother was half Native American, so she had very long, like that Indian hair, and she always wanted me to braid her hair. So when she was in the hospital, wherever, She didn't lose her hair throughout the whole entire time or whatever. She ended up not having to do chemo, but she didn't lose her hair, but she still had that long, beautiful Indian hair. And she would ask me to braid her hair. And this time she asked my cousin, the golden child, to braid her hair. And when the golden child braided her hair, she said, "You just can't do it right. Only Angelique can do it right." Angelique's my real name. Only Angelique can do it right. Get off of me. And I mean, it's effed up that she was mean to the golden child, but it's just like, even in your last days, you're just nasty. I was just like, this is unbelievable. And I'm not gonna lie, I still was looking for humbleness. You're not going to get an apology. You're not going to get humbleness from the narc, even on their deathbed. Okay? But through it, I can see that when she would look at me, it'll be like, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe that she really is sticking here with me. I can tell that she wished that the golden child was there for her. But nope. She got the scapegoat. And that's usually how it is. The golden child, or the ones that they favor, or the ones that they did things for, they're nowhere to be found. The narc dies alone, in a sense. Okay, they die alone. And her funeral, you know how much money my grandmother donated to her church, gave people money for their rent or bills, or just because, because when these narcs have money, they try to buy companionship, or they try to, give so that they appear to be kind people, okay? And that funeral was pretty empty, all right? That narc's funeral was pretty empty. When my mom died, there wasn't a seat left in the house, okay? The building was packed. There was people standing up, okay, when my mom died. But when my narcissistic grandmother died, oh yes, and I had to also take care of other business after she died, and I had to plan the funeral. The golden child left me high and dry to do everything. And even now, the golden child and I have business together, and I'm left to do it. And this is what's sad about golden children. They don't know how to deal under pressure. They lack emotional strength to deal with certain adult situations in life. And they crumble. But the scapegoat is stronger. We're just stronger, period. We're just stronger. It doesn't mean we're better, but we're just stronger. But that was my experience taking care of a narcissist on their deathbed. There wasn't any thank you. It was just entitlement the entire time. There wasn't any remorse, okay? Even, she left the golden child thousands of dollars. She left her son thousands of dollars, and she left me like pennies. And it was really shocking when people were just like, I don't understand. How could she leave these people all this money and they did nothing for her? But you were the one who was there for her at the end. Even when she had a chance to make it right, the narcissist doesn't make it right. Okay? They die this way. They die this way. That's what's sad about it. They die this way. That is my opinion. That is my experience. And that is my truth. And I hope you can respect it. And if you're going through that, please do not look for the narcissist to apologize to you on their deathbed. If you want to talk to them because they're in a weird predicament, do that. But never look for remorse. Never look for humbleness. Never look for an apology from a narcissist, most of them die this way, and they may die alone as well. So hopefully this video was of some help to you, of understanding or comfort in your own situations, and I will continue to do videos. Thank you for all the love and the support and the patience for dealing with me. Keep me in your prayers. I love you guys. Talk to you soon.